awareness training materials, or the security awareness training materials they had were customized. And so you could end up spending, $30,000 for a module. It was a cool video, but depending on what your budgets are, it just wasn't very cost effective. And I was looking at rolling these out to some countries that had very limited budgets, and so I needed to get the cost per user down. This is the current one I just pulled off. This is from October of 2016. Shows that they line up pretty close to what they did. I see PhishMe now has moved over into leader quadrants. They must be paying more money to Gartner, I guess. But you need to establish a plan, and this is very important to get the plan out there. And the reason I say this is don't just start phishing people and see what the results are. Because if you really want to measure what's going on in the organization, you want to have a good plan. So I can make these slides available, but I put a mock plan in here with dates as to how you could roll out this program. So the first thing you want to do is a cyber assessment. And this is where we use a database of 150 different questions and send out those questions to the users and then see how they score and how well they do on things. If they do well on something, then maybe you can focus the training somewhere else. Then we did a mock 404 phishing error. A mock 404 phishing error is basically where you send out the phish, but you tell your support teams you give them a canned response and tell them to say, thanks for reporting this, we will look into it and get back to you. And you give the end user a 404 screen error when they try to click on the link. So why would we want to do that? Incentive. Yes, sir.
See who's vulnerable.
See who's vulnerable? Okay. Why would we want to make it so that that's all we show them in the response? Yeah.
So you're not. A lot of feedback I've gotten back from my company is we're afraid of making somebody feel like they have gotten duped.
Okay. So you're afraid of making them feel they got duped? What other reason? Yeah.
Trying to see if they'll do it again.
Trying to see if they'll do it again? Okay.
So they don't think anything happened.
So they don't think anything happened?
Right.
Okay.
They won't actually know that they got paid.
Okay.
Also, that you can do that first time and train them, do it again.
Good, and then train them and see if they do it again. Okay. What else? See if they'll report it. All great answers. Yes, Dan.
Establish the baseline.
I'm all out. So call that your last. What?
It establishes a baseline.
Establishes a baseline. Yeah. So that answers. So what happens is when you send it out blind, you're really going to you eliminate the office chatter. So when somebody gets it, they think, oh, that was weird. But they don't go and tell somebody, hey, you just got, what security department's trying to phish you. Okay? Because you gave them no feedback. So hang on to that point, because that's very important in these metrics. The next moment, the phishable teaching moment, this is where you come up with a splash page, and then you auto-enroll them later to actually do phishing training. Then we did a mobile security training. Once we got them used to the system, then we could start to issue other types of training, because now they're used to this. They know where it comes from. They know it's legitimate. And then we came in with a second phishing, and then a third phishing. So you lay out the whole program. Let's hold the thought, and I'll come back to you. So we announced the program, and the communication is very important here. You want to make sure, first off, your executives know that this is happening, but not exactly when. So in 30 days in advance, you tell them the what, the when, the why, the how, You tell them the URL the training is coming from so that they know that this is not a Phish email that they should ignore, right? And you want to change the name of that URL to something that would be recognized in your company. Your department, security awareness, whatever, versus from Wombat in our example. You want to change that. Tie it to the home value, which we talked about earlier, refer to other areas. So here we have in here, we give them the website, we tell them when, we say starting in August, you're going to start seeing some security awareness training modules, knowledge assessments, and phishing simulations to help protect our client and personal information assets. Please take the training as designed. How many people really read this stuff, right? When you get this email? No, but here's the trick. You told them. Phishing simulations. Didn't tell them when. Didn't tell them when they're going to get it. Just said, starting in August, we're going to phish you. We're not going to tell you when. So when somebody comes back later and says, I was duped, you didn't tell me. Did you read your email? Okay, very important email here. Okay. So then you send out the assessment. Take away the failing fear, and this also helps with the duping. You tell them that this is an education program. There's we're not trying to penalize people. We're trying to help people increase their knowledge for work and at home. That's why we're doing this. Let's see. So then we deliver the assessment module. So this is what it looks like within Wombat. There's other ones, but very, very visual. Here's a true or false question. The best way for a company to protect its customer personally identifiable information is to have up-to-date network security measures, example, antivirus software and firewalls. True or false? Okay, so they answer that. And they get 15, you give them 15 questions. Don't hammer them with 100 questions. Okay? You won't want to do it. But pick 15 good questions. You get metrics out of this. You get the number of times the questions were asked, whether they started and completed them, different questions by category. You get a lot of good metrics out of this tool. So we then captured the metrics out of our cyber assessment. So we can see our organization wasn't very good about building safe passwords. Well, you would think that would be something everybody would know, right? Well, it's a little trickier than that. It gives them complicated passwords, but some aren't very good. And so they only did 29% there. Nice thing about the training modules that I like in this particular product, I'm not selling Wombat, but I'm sure they all have a similar feature to look for, is they make you, in the training, they teach you how to make a good password, and then they make you do it 4 times. And you have to pass all 4 times of getting that password right, or it won't let you out of the program. It won't let you out of the training. So the person they can't click through it, but then they have to behaviorally, they actually have to create one. Well, here's the interesting thing about all these risks. So they said, identify phishing threats. Oh, 90% thought they could identify phishing threats. Keep track of that number for a moment. Okay? That's what they said in the cyber assessment. So you set up these whitelisted domains, and you'll see they all have different check my package, check my bills. They have different banks in here, so these are all whitelisted. So this is what you would get sent from the phishing program. Then you launch a phishing attack. So this first one we launched was the email quota one of the most successful phishing ones that you can send out. So you send it out, but it comes from this IT support domain, which is not our IT support domain, right? It's one of the whitelisted ones. And it says your mailbox has exceeded its quota limit. Oh my God, what if you got one of those, right? First we strike fear, right? You're exceeding your limit. Well, I need to get my email, right? So it says, your mailbox has exceeded the quota limit set by your email administration group. Click to check your current box quota. Click to request additional mailbox storage, mail administration team, and then IT support. Each one of those hyperlinks is a Phish, and it records it. We put 4 of them in there. Because we thought, well, maybe they won't click one, but they'll click another. They'll want to go to IT support, or they'll want to just immediately get new storage. Every one of them was live. I had one manager that was so mad at me. He said, you know, we were trying to get a proposal out over the weekend, and you sent out this phishing campaign, and I called everybody up and I said, I don't have email storage, I don't know what we're going to do, and then I clicked on it, and then it just gave me this 404 error, and so I had to call IT support because I needed to get more email storage, and we couldn't, and we had a hard time getting this thing out, and now I find out it was a Phish. And I wanted to tell them, well, next time I'll choose when I send my phishing email out to align with the hacker's schedule, you know, so that, you know, it fits into when it's convenient for you. You know, you should be able to send these out anytime, right? So then we did e-package shipments. Thanks for your business, your order's been shipped, here's your order details, the shipping invoice can be downloaded. Gave all that information. When would be a good time to send this one out?
Christmas.
What's that? Holidays. When on the holidays?
Early.
Probably first week of December.
First week of December?
Right after Cyber Monday. Yeah.
Cyber Monday. The next day. That's when we sent this out. Because people shopped on Monday, and they're not paying attention, right? So we hit them right up the next day, yeah.
I like the one that's about 2 weeks before Valentine's Day from a jeweler with their invoice for $3,100.
Yeah. That would be a
And they
good,
go, what the? You click on it.
that would be a good time too. Or your divorce papers in January. That'd probably be a good one too, right? So, okay. So we have provide immediate feedback, a teachable moment. Okay, this is what they get. Uh-oh. I mean, they can't quite miss this, right? But it's also telling them, don't worry, you're part of an authorized training exercise. So you try to make them feel like, yeah, okay, you did it, but, you know, other people are too. So then you communicate the results. And this I would do to the whole organization. First to your management, but tell them, what was the percentage of people that clicked on a Phish? And people are go, uh-oh, I guess I better pay more attention to that. And then you start rolling out the interactive modules, and this is that ticket thing I was speaking of. You give them a time frame for their assignment. You also, remember I said when there are going to be people that Phish that are automatically enrolled, also send out a thank you to those that didn't, but then also enroll them. I mean, I guess they're not getting any benefit at that point, but you want them to have the baseline for it, for at least the first one. Here's what one of the phishing through the interactive game modules would look like. You know, they have little fish going across the screen, and you have to, you have to click whether they're good fish or bad fish. If you want the more formalized one, like with a bank, you hover over these things and then you accept or tell them what's a good fish or a bad fish. And then always thank them for, when they're done with their training and where they can get more information. So here's the results of the case study that we did. So in July, we had rolled out this blind phishing of this pilot group that we had, which was very representative across management, across people that really should know better in the organization. 52% clicked on the Phish, over half. So then we sent out in August. So then we told them the stats in there. No, we did not. We did not tell them. This was the mock error. Then we went right into, in August, we sent them a quarantine email. But it was not our quarantine email system. right? It said you've got to quarantine, you have 3 emails, click here. That dropped then to 31%. Why? Because we had the teachable moment. So you bring up the teachable moment, people shout over the cube, don't open that quarantined email, it's a trick, right? So they start telling people. So that dropped. So this is what I'm saying. Be very careful when you read what the average phishing rates are and how your company compares. What's really being measured here, and how did they issue that email? Somebody may say, "Well, we sent out to our company and it was only 15%." Well, they probably communicated the heck out of that before they sent out the email. And then we did the gift card. Only 7% you have a gift card. Well, we can expect that because people know about that now. They don't fall for that as much anymore. Then we did the shipping logistics, 19%. And keep in mind we had communications out about how bad we did on the phishing. So people are on alert now. Dropped down to 19%. And then we did the holiday greeting card, little e-card, 14%. We had rolled out some mobile device training. So by this point, they're starting to get used to, we're going to get Phish, we're going to get training. And then we had password security training in there. But then we repeated the email quota not quite a year later. We wanted to do the same thing and see, did we get better on the same thing? 18% clicked on it. Shipping logistics, we repeated that in the next year. And that fell from 19% down to 12.5%. So I guess, the point of this slide really is, yeah, you want to drive it down. I would say when you get into that single digit, into the teens, probably not doing too bad, actually. Probably not doing too bad. It's kind of like the unemployment rate, right? There's never going to be a point when everybody's going to be working. There's always going to be people looking for work that don't have a job. Same thing is true here. There's going to be some low watermark, and it's good to drive it into the single digits, but it may spike back up again, depending on the complexity that you have. But this is unacceptable in an organization, but clearly through time and repeatability of doing this, the message does get out there. There's other controls, I won't read through all those, but things like restricting the admin rights, network segmentation, strong authentication, all those other controls help mitigate the damage of these Phish. So we talked about the threat today, what the hidden costs are, the changing nature of security awareness programs, and went through the phishing awareness. I think the planning is very important. We need to make sure that the learning is behavioral for it to stick. They actually have to experience. I mean, look at what we're doing here with the workshops, right? Kids are experiencing. You could have a presentation about lock picking, but how much more valuable is it when they sit down and they actually pick a lock? I mean, the learning is much greater. Employees at every organization level will click. Your boss will click. You've got to keep this stuff extremely confidential. It can't be a hallway conversation. It can only be between the security people. You can get significant reductions, and I would bury these 1-hour training sessions. I would substitute them with 15-minute. We have a new, over 50% of our workforces today are millennial. Do not want to sit through a 1-hour PowerPoint presentation about passwords. Make it quick, make it on the mobile phone, so it can be in and out and done. So you had a question over here?
I did. At what point in your company do you do more than train if you have a problem person?
At what point do you do more training if you have a problem person?
More than training, so it might be written up or something.
Yeah, I think I would avoid the written up approach or getting there, because I think some people will try to get there too quickly. But these programs will identify repeat offenders too. So you can get the 3 times repeat offender and see what's really going on there. Are they just not paying attention or not? And I would argue if you've got somebody that is your repeat offender in this, there's probably other job performance stuff that you could be looking at to get rid of that person. Because they're probably, if they're not paying attention here, what else are they not paying attention to in their regular job? So, any other questions? Yeah.
One quick comment. I know when I worked for major healthcare, one of our campaigns was if they failed the first Phish, to wait a week or 2 and send it to them again. Same exact thing. And for a double failure, send it to them. And then a third failure for the same exact one was a coaching and counseling with their management. Because they obviously just didn't give up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at some point you have to do that, I suppose. Yeah.
When you go through the basis of your how you deploy, the first one is the assessment. The assessment is based on a control sample of the universe, or is it for everybody in the organization?
You can segment it to send it to different groups if you want to. I mean, we did it across everybody, just to get that knowledge. But it's a great tool, and you can add your own custom questions in there if there's something you really want to get to.
Now, I saw that you use Wombat now, and I evaluated that for my use in my organization.
Mm-hmm.
There's one feature for those guys that's crosses into the physical world. That's the USB drop option. You can generate USB sticks with malware in them. Just throw them, let them go in the parking lot and the bathroom, stuff like that. Would you say that adds value or no?
We didn't. The question was, does the USB drop that Wombat has, did that add value? We didn't use that option, so I don't know. My view on that, I think that it's sort of like social engineering in a company to see if you could get in the doors. You're always going to get in. A good social engineer is always going to get in. People are always going to pick up those USB drives. And where we have moved to in our organizations, we're actually locking down on the business device the USB drives, which can be kind of a pain sometimes, but that's how a lot of malware is getting in. And so you start to look at your company assets. And this is a company asset. This is not your personal device. Go spend $500, get an iPad, and surf the web, right, or use your phone. So I think there may be a tilt in organizations. It used to be, well, you can have this limited surfing and stuff. I think some of that may be going away in the future as we just keep getting hammered with more and more of these issues. But it's also it's a balance. If you talk to HR, it's, well, we can't do that because we're trying to recruit people, and if they see you've got old technology or they're restricted from Facebook, or you get into that's a whole other set of issues. But I think with the mobile devices in everybody's pocket today, I think it's becoming more of a reality, and you don't have to have that stuff. So leave you with final thought.
You're really biting today, Don.
It's all about the lure.
Dude? And I think it's about time.
Oh, they're really biting today, son. And it's all about the lure.
Refreshingly smooth, but light. Always worth it.
Hey, dude, take my picture.
So thank you very much. I enjoyed today. So thank you.